Welcome to the podcast, lads. Retard. Today we are joined with Kipper. Say hello, Kipper.
Christopher O'Donovan, Mr. Kipper O'Donovan.
AKA Kipper.
AKA Kipper.
Kipper
We're the finest
Skipper.
chefs in Fermoy. Well, Kipper, when did you start your career in the chef business?
June the 16th, 1977. No, Jesus wasn't there. No. But yeah, it was June the 16th, 1977.
What made you go into the chefing like?
Well, it started off in the Boy Scouts. We went camping, and it was actually 1976, Jamboree. The big jamboree was held in Mount Melry in County Waterford.
What the fuck's a
And,
jamboree?
Jamboree was scout troops from all over the world. America, Germany, everywhere. And we were all camped right around Mount Melry. And I was doing a little bit of part-time work in the Briar Rose restaurant as a bit of a young common chef. But the one thing we weren't short of or the one thing that we were short of Mount Melry that time was not Bibles, but cooks, because nobody could cook. So I started getting the hang of it, and I grew to like it from there. And I went on to go on to be a fully trained chef.
Wow.
And worked a bit in around Cork City. Some other places like the Cork and County Club, which is closed down for many, many years. That was for men only.
Alright.
Men only. Until,
Proper order. Get them fuckers out.
until there was objections put in it that it was men only. So
Men only.
these solicitors in the South Malin Cork
No girls allowed.
hired a lady of the night and paid her to walk into the Gentry Club, and present that night was no other than Jack Lynch, other high dignitaries of the city, of Cork City. But our lady walked in with her knee-high boots and a long leather coat and went up to the bar and took off her coat. And she had nothing on except the boots. So she was escorted out to the door, and then the whole thing changed.
You look like that. What we should have been.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. There were a lot of doctors. Well, there was doctors present, obviously, but there was a lot of ambulances called that night, I'd say. But yeah, that was.
Is that when Pfizer started doing the old pill?
Well, you see, when you're in the catering business, the things you see is just non-stop, and you go on and on and on.
Filthy fuckers.
Well, not filthy. It's
Human nature.
It's all part of life. But then
How do we get into these clubs?
no, they're closed down now.
I bet
But but then a few years in the city, then a few years in the countryside, and then after the red lights, the lights of London. And of course, this is my first time meeting multiracials and people from all over the world.
What year was it when you hit London for the first time?
85, I think it was 1985. So I was probably about 9 or 10 years in the catering business at that stage. So quite young, but quite knowledgeable.
Mm.
Actually, when I arrived in Victoria Tube Station in London, my uncle Harry was scheduled to pick me up. It was a Friday afternoon. But unusually, the ship sailing was on time, and the trains and buses were on time. So I had 2.5, 3 hours to kill in London while waiting for my uncle to meet him at Victoria Tube Station. So I proceeded to walk along the Mall, along Buckingham Palace Road, and up looking at the palace, mesmerised
I'd say so, yeah.
by the wealth and the hotels.
The magnitude of it all.
I was getting nervous.
Mm.
The fact, like, Jesus, man, this is a far cry from where I came from. So
Oh God, no kid.
I was standing outside the Grosvenor Hotel, and this guy was dressed in this funny suit and hat, and he was escorting people in the door. But I noticed his accent was Irish, so I said to him, "How is it going?" And he stood back in his head. "It's going okay." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Cork." "And what are you doing over here?" So I said, I'm here to meet my uncle. I'm coming to London. I said, I'm a chef. Oh, really? How long are you chefing? He said. I said, about 8-9 years. So, all right. He said, why don't you come in here and apply for a job? And I said, in here? Yeah. So he escorted me in, sat me at a little table. I was shaking. Brought me a cup of coffee and left. And next he arrived back with this lady. She was German or Austrian. I'll never ever forget her name. Her name was Heather Haskell. And she sat down and she said she was interviewing me for the job. She was, so we sat, we spoke. I couldn't believe the hours were completely different over here. You had 2 shifts over there. You had a straight shift day or late afternoon till late in the evening. And it just swapped over every 2 weeks. I couldn't believe that because we were being screwed here with split shifts. And anyway, make a long story short on that behalf, on my first job, I left the hotel with still an hour and a half to spare, and I was starting work at 9 o'clock on Monday morning in the Grosvenor Hotel in London. So my uncle arrived down and he said, there's no panic. He was all chit-chat on the tube back to Tottenham in North London. He was all chit-chat saying, there's no panic now, there's nobody rushing to get a job. I was trying to get a word in edgeways. So when we got off the tube in 15 in Tottenham, the Seven Sisters, we were walking up to his home and my aunt's home, and I finally got into him that I have a job, I'm starting at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. So of course, being Irish, we had to have a party.
Splendid.
But checked into my aunt and uncle's house, and our next door neighbours were Pakistani, and then to my amazement, didn't quite understand it, everybody else seemed to be black. No, I was never racist, none whatsoever, and to this day, thank God I haven't been. But I quite couldn't understand why we were the only white family in the whole area, and I mean in a big area. But everybody seemed to get on with each other. But anyway, I didn't mind that, and I would start to work on the Monday morning, multicultural again, lovely, worked away hard, everybody enjoyed me, got on well. So then one night we were on the tier with a couple of the boys in the hotel, the other chefs, and when the guys arrived at that fountain in Trafalgar Square, so when the guys arrived with a bicycle, and he put her into the fountain, and he was cycling around the fountain in Trafalgar Square. So I hopped on the back with it. He fell off. I got up with the bike. Some of the girls hopped on, and we were going around, and next the cops arrived, and we were all arrested. So he asked me where I got the bike, and I told him my friend was put her in. Where's your friend? Of course, my friend was gone. So they said, you're Irish. I said, I am. So I was arrested.
For being Irish.
They had no interest in the guy that I was working with. I had much interest in hanging him either. But anyway, blah, 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 I was up in court. And there was a guy that had bottled a policeman at a soccer match, and the policeman had received stitches to his face. I said to myself, this fella's going to jail for a long time. He got a suspended sentence and a small fine of 50 quid. 50 quid was a lot of money, maybe, yeah. So then it was my turn, and the cop, one of the policemen said to me, you're better off pleading guilty and just get out, pay your fine and get out of it. So when the judge asked me where I was from, I said Tottenham. He said, no, where you were originally from. So I told him, Cork in Ireland. So he says, you think you're coming over here, he says, to a city of this size and taking a person's transport.
Oh, Christ.
Who needs his transport to get back and forth from work and to home, and you stole his transport. He said, I'm going to fine you £400 and you have 2 weeks to pay it, or 2 weeks in jail. So I thought I was hearing things. Anyway, I left. Met the cop at the door of the courthouse, shaking my head at him. He said to me that he could not believe what he'd done to me. That was my first taste of
Welcome to England.
anti-Irish.
Cunt.
So that's grand.
That's nice.
Worked hard
Yeah.
for a couple of years in London, enjoyed it, worked at some of the top restaurants in London, left London and went on to America on the cruise ships. Something that I always wanted to do. Two of my uncles were on ships, Merchant Navy, so I wanted to be Merchant Navy, and of course I had a ticket. Being a chef, I had a ticket to go travelling the world. So off I went,
Working on the cruise ship.
working on the cruise ships as a young chef.
So that was a trip. A lot of weird shit going on there, I'd say.
Again, I thought it was deja vu with London, with the cruise ship. I arrived in Miami, got interviewed in the head office, got my position on board the ship, in the kitchen, which they call galleys. So I went to present myself to the executive chef on board the cruise ship. He was white, Austrian, German.
They own the world, don't they?
So he said to me, the section is over in such a part of the galley. So I went over, walked through the main galley, not a white man to be seen, all staring at me. All West Indian, as far as I was concerned. Now, I had no problem with West Indians because I had worked with them in London. So I rounded the corner to my department. It was a mixture of Filipinos and, again, West Indians. So I spent my first 3 weeks trying to figure out the difference between a head of lettuce in Ireland and a head of lettuce in America. Because, like everything else, they drive different to us. They name the same stuff different.
Yeah. No, they name it wrong.
Like a courgette is a zucchini by the time I got to America. So
They call John and Jenny over there.
when I tried to order my foodstuffs every day from the list, I couldn't identify half it because it had different names. And my work colleagues wouldn't tell me because I was the only white man in the kitchen,
So
except for the executive chef who sat in an office twiddling diddle-doo all day. So I spent 3 weeks with nobody speaking to me. Absolutely nobody, only the waiters. So I said, this is fucking discrimination to the highest order. They wouldn't tell me where the laundry was, they wouldn't tell me where this was, they wouldn't tell me nothing. I had to do everything myself. So I said, I'm Irish, I'm not going to give up easy. So I continued. After 6 weeks, 1 or 2 of them started speaking to me. After further, they were all speaking to me.
Did you fuck them all out of it then? Cunt.
We had one guy then, and you probably heard of Char Maya. Do you hear of Char Maya?
I haven't.
Famous cop comedian.
Yeah.
So there's one guy, big tall, black guy, he was from Honduras. And Char was his name. So I was intrigued with this Char business because we had Char and Maya back in Cork. So I come in the morning and I say, good morning, Char. How are you? And he said, okay, man, how are you? So I said to him, how is Maya? And he wouldn't answer. This went on for quite some time. And then I said, morning, Char, how is Maya? Who the fuck is Maya? So then I explained to him and he said, fuck Maya. So that was okay. Then the head waiters in the restaurants, some were Irish, some were English, most of them were actually Irish. So they approached me and they said to me, I gotta get out of the galley, I gotta get out of the kitchens. I was only making X amount a month, I have no tips. They're making 6 months of my wages in 2 weeks. They were making thousands. Now, there's cruise ships all over the world now, and there's cruise ships everywhere. But that time out of Miami, I think there was only about 8 or 9 ships coming out of it. And even when we were in there on a Saturday, there might be 2 or 3 in together. But now Now there's like a parking lot in Port of Miami. So all the money has changed and the tipping has changed. All tips are built into more ships now. But anyway, make a long story short, the waiters wanted me to get out of the kitchen because I was the only white man in there basically. And they said I'm stupid and come out, work with these guys, and I've been making $3,000 a week. Oh, I am serious. But no, I was a chef and that was it, so I stuck there.
Me too.
Yeah, learned a lot of the different cultures. Learned that not only white men are racist, but black men are racist. Also on the same ship we encountered in late 86, I think. It was Hurricane Charlie, one of the biggest hurricanes that ever hit the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, we all know now today that most hurricanes start in the Gulf of Mexico, where the cold waters from the south meet warm waters of the north, or vice versa. But we had left Miami on a Saturday. We were at sea on a Sunday. The hurricane blew up quite rapidly, and we were destined for Mexico, Cozumel in Mexico, on the Mexican Gulf Stream. But the captain had turned the ship to face the hurricane.
What?
And he turned the ship to face it because if it caught us, no, he wasn't drinking. He was Norwegian. But if he didn't turn the ship, we'd have been tossed around and probably sunk. So he turned the ship into it and it passed through. I think it was about an hour and a half or 2 hours of absolute hell.
Fuck.
Absolute hell. Where we had trolleys, stainless steel trolleys, 12 feet, 10 feet high, full of delf and cutlery, flying, absolutely flying at 30 miles an hour through the kitchens, bouncing off the walls. Equipment that wasn't bolted on was just lifting and flying. A lot of injuries.
I guess.
Sounds like Final Destination.
We had 1,200 passengers. I'll get to that in a minute, but this is the kitchen staff, the galleys, in the galleys. It was right across from my department. There was on the right hand side there was a tea department, and this South Korean was in charge of making all these specialty teas from around the world. And on the left hand side of him, 20 or 30 feet on the opposite side of him, you had a North Korean.
Oh, lovely.
Who was specialist in all the different coffees of the world.
Poisons.
And every day for 1 hour, these guys would stare each other down. Never blink an eye, none of them. And I even tried to intervene by waving hands between them. They never ever blinked an eye for 1 hour. But once the 1 hour had passed, then they carry on with their own jobs. Bang, bang, bang. We'd have a Kit Kat and an armament. These guys just stare each other down. It was savage.
I kill you.
But during the storm, the hurricane, a lot of injuries now incurred inside the kitchens, especially in the kitchens. And of course around the ship as well. There was old people being battered around their cabins of rubber
That's what they
ducks.
get now when they go on a fucking cruise ship.
But we had the North Korean and the South Korean. They had coffee machines, boilers which were bolted to the benches. These were full of boiling water. They were all working. Everything had to be turned on. Everything had to be worked. We had to cook as much as we possibly could, even though there was only 2 people turned up for dinner out of 1,200. But still, everything had to be ready.
Sounds stressful.
Stressful, isn't it? The stress doesn't come into it.
Sounds crazy.
You don't get
idiotic.
stressed when there's 180-foot waves flying over the ship.
And you have to cook your dinner. I'd say, hey, dinner's cancelled, folks.
So in my department, I had a couple of Filipinos and a couple of West Indians. Every now and again, I see a head pop up from behind the bench. They were clung to the benches on the floor. So I decided, if we're going down, we might as well go down happy. So I was drinking beer, as you would. So anyway, I heard screaming across at one of the Koreans. It was the South Korean. and the stainless steel funnel head up over his bench with boiling water had snapped and fell over him. And the North Korean was clung to his bench, and I screamed at him to go help him, and he wouldn't. He refused point blank. This guy was cooking on the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
Cooking.
Lovely.
So I got to the phone. I got onto the emergency nurse, who was Scandinavian girl actually, and she was going to try to do her best to get up. She got up, she got in the door of the kitchen, and she was thrown across the floor like a rag doll. And while she was sliding across the tiles, her legs were picking up pieces of broken delf and cutlery and sticking on her with blood all over her legs.
Fucking hell.
Amateur hour, lad.
I got to her then, and I was picking up bits of glass and bits of cutlery as well then. But I got to her, and I got her steady. Then we got to the South Korean. She asked me to open his shirt, his jacket. So I opened his jacket, and I lifted his jacket, and all his skin came with the jacket.
Huh?
Nah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I said, I'm looking at spare ribs here, lad. But I didn't say that, I felt like getting sick.
Oh.
So she got gauze.
Fuck. Jesus.
She got gauze.
That got deep very quickly.
She got gauze. And I asked the North Korean to get me ice. She asked me. And he wouldn't.
What a useless fucker.
So then I was throwing stuff at the North Korean, because he wouldn't do what he was told. But I noticed he was injured as well. But that's for another day. But we got help then from another guy, a West Indian guy, and we got the South Korean. Well, she injected him with morphine and other stuff, and he was unconscious. But his heart was beating because she was saying he was breathing. So we got him out of the kitchen and away somewhere, I don't know where he went. So I went back to the North Korean, and he was badly cut in his leg. So I had the first aid kit, and I wanted to dress his leg, and he wouldn't let me. So I left him there.
Special kind of stupidity.
Yeah. So anyway,
Is there a fucking happy ending to this
Yeah.
trauma?
yeah, the storm, the hurricane was. We had gone through the heart of the hurricane, so until we started the calm, the sea was meant. I remember I got up to one of the side doors, looking all over the both sides of the ship, and I pushed the door open with all my force, and I could see the front of the ship as she trotted along, up and down. But the waves were going up over the bridge where the captain and his officers are, and the actual water was going up over the ship. So I closed the door quite quick. We went back down into the galleys, and it became actually dinner time around 6 p.m, 6:30 in the evening. And the waiters were sick. Everybody was sick. The galley was in smithereens. There was people trying to brush stuff up everywhere. There was trolleys and wheelbarrows of stuff being taken away. Some of the lifts were out of order because they had damaged, moved from side to side. So it was a nightmare. Anyway, we had two New York multi-billionaires. They were actually Jews, no disrespect to the Jewish religion, but they turned up for dinner and wanted full dinner. It was pandemonium.
Picking their
The
glass out.
waiters couldn't go. Some of the dining room was in tatters. So anyway, the next morning we all woke up and the sea was still rough, but the hurricane had passed.
God.
Back to the hotels on land, I'd say.
The captain was applauded because he didn't run from the hurricane. He turned and went back into it. A wise decision.
What would have happened if he didn't do that?
Never know.
We'd have got hit twice.
Oh, fuck.
Once behind us, and the hurricane would turn again and come back at us. So, okay. So the ship was turned again, and we were heading to Cozumel in Mexico, back to Cozumel. So myself and my friends, we were delighted because we were going to get a half day off anyway. Go and see our old friend in a pub in the island of Cozumel in Mexico, have a few beers and chill. So we docked in Cozumel. Place looked a bit rough because that was it as well. So we got off the dock and headed towards our local pub.
God.
The pub was there, but we couldn't see it. But right across the main thoroughfare in front of it was a ship, a complete ship on its arse.
Fucking hell.
Sorry,
And all I was worried about was, oh please let our fucking pub be okay. And when we walked around the ship, lo and behold, our pub was there. So it
Oh.
was like a fucking mirage. And we walked up to the door of the pub, and our Mexican friend comes out and says, "My amigos from Ireland, welcome, welcome." We went in, roof damaged, everything, bit of damage. But yeah, it was cool.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Fuck that.
Our local was saved. The South Korean was shifted to hospital. And by the way, he was in hospital in America. And he returned 6 months later to work. The North Korean was put on another ship, run by the company. And he was sent to Alaska.
Alaska.
Freeze his bollocks off.
Right job.
So he was sent up. They were separated, which I had recommended from once anyway. But he was sent up around the north of some Alaska, and it wasn't a cruise ship. He was sent on a cargo ship.
Oh, lovely.
So he was going to go through a bit of hell. But yeah, the South Korean arrived back, and it was terrible to see him. The disfigurement of his neck, his left hand ear had most of his ear was gone. All the side of his face, it was just incredible.
Ugh.
I can imagine to see the rest of him, but yeah, he was totally disfigured. But a charming young man, and still carried on every day with his work as if nothing happened.
What a legend.
Yeah, but hence you see, like North Korea and South Korea today, it's unreal, absolutely unreal. But I witnessed that.
That's a strange word to be like.
Well, Korea, they've always been a very, that country's always been very strict, very tough kind of. They don't really take shit from no one.
Which, north or south?
Oh, gee, North.
North. In fact, they're not in the north. North
It's
is
a
totally
mystery. It's
red
an
communist.
enigma.
It's extremely, totally different to here, like.
At the moment, no, they're antagonising the South Korea with their
It's
missiles.
not new, is it?
They're constantly antagonising them.
You remember those photos you showed me where you were diving?
Oh,
The colours were unbelievable.
I was swimming with the
Where
sharks.
was that?
Yeah, I was in Tahiti in the South Pacific.
Tahiti. That looked cool.
Yeah, of course.
You were swimming with sharks.
Yeah,
And
we
you're
brought
like,
we brought a
lazy
ship. We
fucker.
brought a ship from France, sailing cruise ship from France, down around the west coast of America, through the Panama Canal, and around to Mexico, and then up into the east side of America, San Diego, Santa Barbara, Long Beach, San Francisco, then across to Hawaii, and then delivered the ship weeks and weeks later down to Tahiti in the South Pacific.
Huh.
But anyway, we saw this shark program, swimming with the sharks. So we said, had to be done.
Yeah, no.
Being from Cork, you don't
I
get
fucking
swim with
hate
sharks.
sharks. Ugh.
After seeing Jaws, I'm
They
fucking
can be all the
traumatized.
fantastic you want to say, fair enough, but don't fucking let me know.
But our Polynesian friend there, when we gone out to the area, he's told us that these were friendly sharks.
Oh, really?
Great whites were there.
No. Red whites are not friendly.
I don't. What
Um,
was the one that was?
These were black tip and white tip, mostly black tip and white tip. But we knew nothing about sharks, except they'd bite you.
Yep. Jaws is all I know about sharks.
Yeah.
Ignorantly.
But he told us we were safe behind the barrier.
Well, you went into a cage, did you?
I told him he was safe behind the barrier.
So he started throwing in this rubby-dubby of food, bits of fish and tuna parts and heads, and there was fins everywhere there. So we all put on our snorkels and our gear and our flippers and dropped into the water. It's intriguing. I had the camera.
The
Not
photos were amazing though.
But when we got underneath, the barrier was only a blue rope tied from one rock underneath to another rock. Just the rope. The sharks would come underneath it or over it or behind you. It didn't matter. I said, well, back up. And I said to me buddy, that ain't no fucking barrier. That's a rope. So, anyway, we took some photographs and I remember I had enough because I remember as a young fellow was intrigued with Jacques Cousteau underwater adventures of Jacques Cousteau. And I remember sharks going into a feeding frenzy. And this was a frenzy because they were going like bullets all around us. And there was big fellas, small fellas, big fellas, and they were coming right up to us. And you get the odd tip
Good luck.
against you.
They're like a freaking torpedo.
Yeah.
So I said, time to depart. So I went up to the boat. And I remember when I got to the side of the boat, I had my hands up and I grabbed the side of the boat and I had no power in my legs. I was so nervous, I had no kick in my legs. So I hauled myself up into the boat and fell into the boat, which was a timber boat. And I black and blue, bare all my legs and... anyway, I was black and blue everywhere over this ship, but I had the pictures. The pictures were phenomenal.
You had your legs, I think, one part.
Yeah, and me boys. But anyway, went back into the mainland, and I saw the Shark Museum. So I ventured in to have a look at it, and I saw black tip reef shark. All divers' nightmares. I wanted to get me $50 back off your man.
Batter him is what you want to do. Scooby do that.
That is serious shit, like.
So after all your chefing, your digging, I remember back in the day you come through for my with all this fishing gear down to the river for the day you began.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
Myself and Jimmy Murphy be down with a hangover.
uh,
You were out the night before with us too, and you'd be all head to toe, all this fucking rubber gear, heading down to the river for the day.
yeah, well I was a keen angler since I was a child. And even today, I teach it, and yeah, I still love angling. I always loved angling. I even tried it on the ships. Talking about that now, one time we were going through the Panama Canal, and we were anchored.
What's that like going through the Panama Canal?
Incredible. A ship being towed by two engines, train engines, pulled up over a mountain, basically,
Yeah.
step by step.
I only saw a documentary when they were making the.
Yeah, there was thousands of people lost their lives.
Oh
because of that.
yeah.
So the American engineers stepped in this and finished it eventually after a long time.
Sad.
Germans failed, the French failed, and the Americans succeeded in the end. But yeah, of course, a lot of them died. There was hundreds of thousands died in the building of the Panama Canal. But a lot of them died of malaria and typhoid, being bitten by mosquitoes, simple little mosquito.
Yeah.
But going through it was incredible. But we had to anchor anyway during the night. We arrived approaching evening time. It was about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we dropped anchor. We had to wait. We were waiting for the next morning. We learned that we weren't going ashore. The captain told us we weren't going ashore. That there was problems ashore. So we were looking from the back.
you're a jinx skipper.
So
Yeah.
we were looking at from the back of the ship onto the. We could hear the music. We could see the lights of Panama City, and we were intrigued. We really wanted to get ashore. Then we saw more lights, but they weren't crackerjackers or it was gunfire. So there was a road street battle of guns and gunfire, and we were told by the captain to get down and get back into our cabins. There was a battle between the police, army, and somebody else, a couple of 100 yards away from us.
Fucking jinx, man.
And of course, I was fishing at the back of the ship when this was all taken part because I couldn't go ashore, so I went fishing. And then the captain also got informed by the harbour master, the Panamanian harbour master, that fishing is illegal. So I got warned, if I didn't want to get fined, put away my fishing rod. So we went back to our cabins. We were staring out the portholes, watching all this gunfire. Anyway, early next morning, we were given first preference because the ship was so valuable. And, we were going through the canal first, so we got into the first lock, and we were tied onto two train engines, and we were pulled through the canal, gates by gates, until we got up. But halfway up the mountain, imagine going up over a mountain in a ship.
How the fuck? Like,
I just think Jack Sparrow.
yeah.
But there was a guy welding along one of the tracks. He was welding something. So there was a welding fire. And the tank, gas tank, so they used some kind of gas, obviously, for welding.
Yeah.
So that was catching fire. So there was the threat of that blown up. So we stopped. The whole Panama Canal was stopped because this fellow welding made a complete bollocks of what he was doing. So we were held off for a couple of hours. Now the problem is, we were a sailing cruise ship. We had masts, 4 masts. And they were 160 feet above sea level. So we had to meet the other side of the mountain and the ocean at a specific tide so that we could sail under the Balboa Bridge and out into the
Alright.
Pacific. So if we were late, we'd have been stuck in the Panama Canal, or worse, ran aground at the top of the mountain.
Oh.
So anyway, we got through and we just made it under Balboa Bridge. You could see the top of the ship going under the bridge, and it looked like, I've got the photograph, and it looks like it's going to hit. It just went on
Inches.
Oh.
And the guys, 2 different countries, I think it was Colombia, I can't remember the country on the other side, but there was 2 different securities, 2 different,
Yeah.
and they both hooted,
Taking
sounded
bets.
they probably were taking bets as well. It's going to hit. But they hooted and flagged us off, and away we went. So yeah, so then I went off into the South Pacific. And
That's crazy.
up into the western side of America. First port I called over was Mexico, in Acapulco.
Phil Collins.
An amazing place. Amazing place. If you really wanted to die, you should go there.
Very happy, is it?
But out of all these places that you've gone to around the world, where would you say is the best place for a chef to go? You know, to find work
Sure,
there.
that probably
The chef can find work anywhere.
No, but
Anywhere. But
I'd
if you want to see a lot of the world in a limited amount of time, then the cruise ship is the way to go. I mean, you could be, in 1 week, you could be in 5 or 6 different countries.
after hearing that story now, I won't even look at a fucking cruise ship. Sorry.
Well, you know, but no, you have the large shipping companies have their own catering colleges in
Really?
in countries like Indonesia and the Philippines, and they send the European chefs out and they train these guys in their
So they're like a football team now, with all the...
in their thousands, and so they come on the cruise ships and they're all geared up, ready to rock and roll.
How long did you spend on the ships?
Just short of a couple of weeks short of 5 years. We have 365 days on and 6 weeks off. So you're a year on and you're 6 weeks holidays. That's it. That's it.
In one block, 6 weeks.
Yeah. I remember my first year, sadly my father passed away. I was a couple of months through my contract, but it's called emergency leave, so I was allowed to come back to Ireland. Now I had a 1 year, you're not allowed to join the ships unless you have a 1 year open return ticket. So I had to use my ticket to go back, and now the shipping company gave me another ticket to return. So it was a toss up to the middle, but came back to Ireland, came back to Cork to bury my father. The priest in the local church was doing a banana because I was a day late. It was the most horrific experience of my life. Not because my father had died, that was sad enough. But I remember we left Miami on a Saturday, we had a sea on the Sunday, and we were back then again in Cozumel, Mexico on the Monday morning. And when I'd been up and done my early shift, and I came back to my cabin around 10 a.m. I was off until 6 p.m. that evening. So I was going to go ashore and go swimming and whatever. But I seen a telegram on the ground in my cabin, inside my cabin door. So I picked it up, and I couldn't figure out whether it was Mr. or Mrs. or Donovan. So I knew there was something wrong anyway. Funny enough, I'm a twin. But the night before I was restless, twisting and turning, and I dreamt there was something happened sad back in Ireland. Weird. But yeah, I had, and I didn't realise it.
You're a twin?
Yeah.
Sister or brother?
Brother.
Identical?
Was he in Ireland?
Practically, he was there in Ireland, yeah. So I knew there was something radically wrong. So then I took the telegram and I went to the radio officer. But they were closed because the ship was in port. And they can't operate until, I think, 6 miles outside in the sea. So that was going to be in the evening time. So then I got on to another senior officer to find out what's this about. And she said he couldn't help us. So the radio officers knew about it and they're gone to bed. And I can't wake them. So I went ashore, knew there was something drastically wrong. Found a telephone exchange place on the island, obviously all Mexicans. My Spanish was limited because I didn't like the Spanish teacher when I got to school. But she kept putting me through to Iceland instead of Ireland. So anyway, went back on board to find out that my father had passed away. And so that was Monday. So Tuesday we were at sea again. And Wednesday morning we were in the Cayman Islands. And I had a flight arranged from the Cayman Islands back to Miami, and then vice versa to get back to Ireland. That was all in the pipeline. So I flew out of Cayman Islands on the Wednesday morning. My friends, the waiters, they actually chipped in a few pounds for me, and had obviously they sent on a MasterCard afterwards. But I arrived in Miami at Wednesday at lunchtime. So straight away, we had our own hotel. The shipping company had their own hotel as well in Miami. So that's where all the crew stay, you know.
Yeah.
I think it was about 1,400 people can stay there any one time. But anyway, I checked into the hotel, and I left straight away then to walk over to the port of Miami, which wasn't too far away, to sort out my passport and my return ticket, and whatever few pound money they owed me, which would have been all sorted. So I arrived at the door of the head office in Miami, and they said, "Sorry, closed today because it was Lincoln's birthday."
Jesus
I
Christ.
said, "What else the fuck is going to happen here now?"
It's funny how a big professional outfit can be so fucking
Yeah.
My father had passed away now 3 days technically in Ireland.
Yeah.
He passed away. He died on a Sunday night. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The funeral should have been actually on the Wednesday or maybe a Thursday. So I left. I was in despair. Couldn't figure out what was happening. So went back to the hotel, and under the hotel there was a mall, a shopping mall, pharmacy, photo shops, blah blah blah. There was one travel agency. He was Cuban. So I went up to him and I said to him, I don't know whether you're going to help me. This is my predicament. So I told him my predicament, and he said, "Come in and sit down and relax." So he was on his computer. No, I had no idea about computers at that time. And he said to me, "Are you ready to go?" And I said, "Go where?" Because there was no flights out of Miami to London or Ireland Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. It was only Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was the other bad news that I had.
Oh, lovely.
Right. So I know it was Lincoln's birthday, but there was no flights either. So I had to resort to missing my father's funeral and arriving, that's what I had to resort to. But this Cuban man had a different idea. He said, "Are you packed?" I said, "I didn't even unpack." He said, "Are you ready to go?" "Oh, yeah." He said, "I'm going to phone you a cab. You're going to the airport." But I said, "There's no flights. There's no flights from Miami to London or Ireland." He said, "But there's flights from Miami to New York and a connecting flight from New York to London Heathrow.
Oh.
How much do I owe you? $75. I gave him the $100. Keep the change, my friend. Taxi, away I went. I was in JFK Airport in London, in New York, and my name was being called out over the PA system to go to a certain desk. But I had little or no time between checking in flights and moving, so I couldn't go to fuck that fucking TWA desk or whatever. So I just got on my flight. I had my own ticket there, but there was a ticket paid by my mother-in-law to go from New York to London. So I was on the flight, a Virgin Atlantic flight from New York to London, with 2 seats. Touchdown then in London Heathrow, and again, I had only little or no time to get on the flight to Cork. And my name was being called out there as well, and I had no time for it. So I saw the queue for the Cork flight, and I said, I ain't going to get on that flight. The queue is too long. So I just walked up and went in onto the barrier, left my bag behind me, and I had a carry-on bag over my shoulder, and went up to the desk. There was people screaming, "Oh, you get back to us! I have a funeral. I have a funeral to go to, my father's." Blah blah blah. There was a lot of screaming and rolling at me, and I ignored them. And the girl at the desk said, "I said, please, my father's funeral. I had to get on this flight." So great. Okay, I paid. Bang bang. Off into the lift, down and onto the plane. Away I went. Landed in Cork Airport. My twin brother was there to pick me up. And went down. I had to go to the shop in Cork then to buy a black suit and a white shirt and a black tie. Up to my mother. And yeah. Then I went to the church. And the priest, I said, I went to see my father. He said he was on opening no coffin. That I'm a disgrace. I should have been there the day before.
Just smack him.
So I said, Father, I said, if you only knew what I went through. It was Lincoln's birthday. I said, there was no flights out of Miami. I said, we were at sea for the whole 24 hours. I said, nothing I could do about it. He said, you're a disgrace.
I couldn't.
So he said he wouldn't open the coffin. So I got another priest and we opened the coffin. So we left then, and the funeral was the next day. So, yeah. And the same priest then came up to me. I was doing a reading, you see. And the same priest came up and he said, this is a lot of big words, and this is, would you like me to read it for you first? So I said, oh, I see the big word. And he said, what one don't you know? I said, you obviously don't know what I said. It's called fuck off. Then he told me that after the funeral I was not to come back into the church again. So I said, don't worry about it, I won't.
What a prick.
Yeah, so that was Lincoln's birthday, no flights, incredible.
Against all odds, and you still got the car.
Still got back here, oh yeah.
Deal with that prick.
And then, to make things worse, sadly, that time, and even when I was in London, the INLA and the IRA were blowing the shit out of London at the time.
Oh, Christ.
And of course the bag that I left at Heathrow, I left the bag at Heathrow Airport.
Oh, God.
Right bang smack in the middle of the airport. In the foyer of where all the check-ins and check-outs are. And a big sticker on the side of it, the Fighting Irish.
Oh, you cute.
And the tricolour background. So there was a bomb scare at Heathrow Airport after I left.
You're a jinx, I'm telling you.
You are.
So
You're fucking Jonah.
I asked him, I went to Cork Airport a couple of days later and I explained what description of my bag, including the Fighting Irish badge on it. So I went to the British Airways desk in Cork Airport and they said to me, yeah, they had it, and that I went they wanted £130 or something for them to bring it back. And they said they didn't really want to bring it back. And then they told me why. There was flights, there was people missed their flights, there was planes wanting to touchdown, diverted, a Fighting Irish bag.
I'm just getting a Forrest Gump movie.
Yeah.
But well, by fault I was panicking, you see. So then I went to the Aer Lingus desk and I said to him, I left the bag in London Heathrow, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, the next day there was a courier came to my mother's house with my bag. And I said, how much do I offer this? That in compliments of Aer Lingus. British Airways wouldn't bring it. And of course,
Aer Lingus will do that today.
inside in the bag, which I had time to do in Miami, there was my new black suit, my new white shirt, and another black tie. And of course a new pair of black shoes, because nobody wears shoes. And so, yeah, that was quite an amazing. But it didn't stop there. I had a couple of weeks back in Ireland, back here, and went to see some old friends, went for a few beers here and there, whatever. But I think it was about 4 or 5 days before I was due to go back, I got a phone call from the head office in Miami. And they said, before I come back, because it was emergency leave, I would have to bring back a death certificate of my father's death. Copy of that. My father was only dead 3 weeks ago. And you know, in Ireland, I say, you wouldn't even get one now after 3 weeks. Never mind then. So I went down to the birth, deaths and office in the city. Told the lady my predicament. And she was looking at me gobsmacked. She can't help it. The post-mortem report was more than likely not even done. She said, done, yeah, but not written or entered into the system. I said, you have to. I said, I can't go back to work and I lose my job. And she helped me. Amazingly, a civil servant or a public servant. They hate me today, but they helped me then. Yeah, so yeah, I got it in time and headed back to Miami. Back to the ships and back to more ships after that.
Any other little incidents in that time?
Yeah.
Well,
In your orbit?
well, in my travels, of course, I love sailing cruise ships. You know.
Yeah.
In Miami, you had the Bounty, was actually moored there.
All right.
It was on loan from the British to the Americans, and they had it as a museum anchored in Miami Bay, Port of Miami. So I had to go on board that night, not be Jack Sparrow. I just had to be Kipper the Skipper, and I thought it was fantastic, really fantastic.
Was there a story about was there a mutiny on that one?
No, there was a mutiny. Yeah, of course they were in Tahiti,
Yeah.
where I wasn't yet, but little did I know that I was heading there on a sailing cruise ship, by the way. So, yeah, so I was on the Bounty, a sailing cruise ship. I worked on a brand new sailing cruise ship, the largest computerized sailing ship in the world. Went to Tahiti on it, delivered it, serviced it for 14 months in total. So that was my second sail ship. But when we were in Tahiti, ships en route to Australia for the bicentenary of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, there's a tall ships in Sydney.
So brilliant, tall ships.
So a lot of them had stopped in Tahiti. So I was on board 2 of them in Tahiti. One of them was the US Coast Guard Eagle, a beautiful ship. That was also in Cork, visiting tall ships in Cork. But it was full of US Marines, but they were all female cadets, as we done. So, well, I was on board that ship, and I won't say night and day, like, but anyway, she was a beautiful ship. So were the crew. No, the captain wasn't too impressed, but anyway, yeah, that was my 3rd sailing cruise ship that I was on board. And
was it on the ships that you got the Kipper title, or did that come
Yeah.
later, or was it before?
kids gave me that afterwards. But to make a long story short, from fishing, kids, Kipper the skipper, because I'm a trained skipper now as well.
Right.
I have a passenger proficiency license, passenger boat proficiency license. But that's no, but back then. And you talk about any more incidents? Yes. the bounty sank in
What
the
did you
Atlantic.
do, Kipper?
I knew it.
Jesus Christ.
So
Can't
the-
let him
You're
outside
like-
Cork City.
You're fucking, you are like your Uncle Albert.
The bounty is now at the bottom of the Atlantic somewhere. The original bounty,
Yeah.
gone. Okay. US Coast Guard Eagle,
What did you do to that?
gone. Sank. One of the most beautiful toy ships in the world. Gone. She was a war prize from America to the Germans, or the Americans took from the Germans. She's sunk. Gone. The Windsong, largest first computerized sailing cruise ship in the world. Brand new. I worked on it for 14 months.
God.
It is now thousands of meters under sea in the South Pacific.
So they're all calling this now.
Three sailing ships that I was on. The Bounty, gone. US Coast Guard Eagle, gone. Windsong, gone.
They should have called you Sinker, not fucking
The Kipper effect.
Gone. So now I tend not to go on board sailing boats.
Very wise. Very
Yeah,
wise.
keep the fuck away.
Insurance companies all over the world start sweating on this. You keep
Yeah,
running.
Lloyd's in London, yeah, they are the insurers of everything that floats around the world. Yeah, so yeah, stay away from tall ships. Yeah.
I don't know how you'd the belly for fucking going on a ship full stop. I mean, what were we doing? Out of Cove, just shipping, fishing for the day.
Yeah.
Bar. I was green coming back in that evening, man. All the whales that showed up out of nowhere, then you're like, we need a bigger boat. They were huge.
Imagine being told like when you're leaving San Francisco, next stop is Tahiti. Now we're away ahead of time, so we won't be arriving until 8 weeks.
Oh, lovely.
But you have to get out of
Yeah.
San Francisco, get out of port. So you're going around and around. Now the only consolation is we had a skipper on board that time. He was Norwegian. Now the man was not a very nice man. That's probably why the ship sank afterwards, because he was on it.
Karma. Did he go down with the boat?
He got a heart attack.
Oh, there you go. It's never
So we diverted to Hawaii. Okay?
Yeah.
Now none of us were ever in Hawaii. So we pulled into the harbour of Hawaii, dropped anchor. And man, could we see the hula boola lights and the rocking and oh man, we were all geared up in our Hawaii shirts and our shorts and our flip tops. We were heading ashore, man.
It's meant to be an awesome telescope on one of those islands.
Fuck the telescope.
Astronomy
We weren't
telescope.
going for the telescope. Anyway, we were already at the side of the ship waiting for the lifeboat to be launched so we could
Yeah.
go ashore. The captain was gone ashore into the hospital, right? So the
The
chief
heart
officer,
attack lad.
so the chief officer then, who was now in charge, Chief Dog, G-A-G-G, G-A father G-G, but it was pronounced dog. But see, that was English for us calling a four-legged friend a dog, but in Scandinavia, it's not a dog, you know?
Yeah.
It's a name, like Murphy, whatever, you know?
Pig.
So, me and him didn't see eye to eye, you know? So, Chief Dog came down and he said, "Oh, look at all the little Irishmen." I said, "What's wrong with you, Chief?" He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "We're going ashore." "No, you're not." He said, "All shore if it's cancelled until the captain is back on board." So I said, "Hold on a minute." So when the captain is back on board, we're gone. And I said, "We can't go ashore then." He says, 10 out of 10. Top of the class.
Cunt.
Bollocks. So, back to our cabins and listen to the hula hula.
You mean you didn't even try to get off the boat?
We couldn't get off it. If we were caught leaving it, you'd be fired.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah. So that was my chief dag.
What cunt?
Oh, he was a right bollocks. So anyway,
On a ship, no less. You can't do a damn
I
thing.
was in Hawaii but never saw it. I heard it, but I never saw it.
Joseph, look, it's beautiful over there as well. The ocean spot.
man.
The ocean is
I
so
wouldn't have went
clean.
fucking swimming in the sharks there though. Fucking great whites everywhere. So then we went off to Tahiti then. And I was keeping my eye on Chief Dyke as he was keeping his eye on me. But He was slightly inebriated one night with his young one, so I took his photograph and put it up in the officers' mess. And there was war. Of course, he blamed me. He said, "You done this." No, I didn't. So he tried to take my shore leave off me, then the captain, but the new captain, he was French, and I was in charge of the fish cooking, so I was to look after the French captain with his fresh fish. And I was home and dry. Chief Dag. What a man he was.
Oh yeah,
6'4", pure blonde, blue eyes, of course. Bilinowski.
What a master race.
But yeah, he didn't like Kipper the skipper. No. Didn't like me at all.
He probably heard of all the boats you've been sinking.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna ruin everything.
Even though one night, of course, we had been a ship of that calibre, and we had film crew on board, the lives of the rich and famous. We also, prior to that, we had another NBC program. It was an NBC, could have been NBC, but it was an American program anyway. Beyond the year 2000, you know, they were looking at things space-wise and things so advanced. They actually came on board the Windsong and filmed it in action because of the computerized sailing and how the whole ship worked. So we had them on board, and of course then we had NBC for the lives of the rich and famous, where we had no other than Princess Margaret, David Bowie, Mick Jagger, Jerry Hall, a couple of other film stars, and fashion models. Obviously Jerry Hall was on board, so she brought one or two of her world famous friends on board. So one night I was downstairs in my workshop doing I used to sometimes do work in the evening that could be done, so to make less hours for the next day, you know. Somebody knocked on my door, and I had two doors, one into our own area and one into the private shipping area. Somebody was knocking on my door. Of course, I just thought it was somebody taking the piss. So I opened the door, and looking down into the private part of the cabins, there's this beautiful, tall, auburn hair model walking towards me, absolutely naked.
Ooh.
It's your birthday.
And she's walking towards me.
Hello, Kip.
I'm there with an apron covered in blood and a steel and a knife sharpening. Looking at her. So I stepped back in her and the door shut. So I went back and put my knees back in the bench, came back out, opened up the two doors and looked in again. And there's this cute little lass heading away from me. So I said, "Fuck, who's this?" So I went back in. Oh, all these superstars were
Was
over
Mick
there.
Jagger around there somewhere?
He was around somewhere, yeah. But anyway, I went back into my workshop. So I said, maybe she's drunk.
Maybe I dreamed it.
Yeah, maybe I was hallucinating. So I went back out and I opened the door again. Here she walked towards me again. So this time I stood right at the end. She walked right up to me, and I done this into her eyes. Her eyes didn't even blink. So she turned around and walked away again. So
Where was your camera then?
Exactly. All camera gear was confiscated that week, actually. All our camera gear and recording gear
So
was
they could walk
confiscated.
around naked.
So they could do what they goddamn like, and we wouldn't get any photographs. So, anyway, I left another minute or two, and here she's back up again. So I said, I'm going to do this again. So she walked towards me and said, hello. No, blank, and turned the water away. So I went back into my workshop, picked up the phone, bang, bang, rings the bridge, where the captain and the chief officer would be, Chief Dag. So Chief Dag answered the phone, and he said, this better be good.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I said, this is the dog's bollocks. He said, what? I said, you gotta come down here. I said, there's a naked woman walking up and down deck 2 of the passenger area. Don't be stupid, he says. Do not be stupid. No, I'm not stupid, I said, there's a naked woman walking up and down floor deck 2. I said, come down to my workshop and walk in the door from my side and you'll see her. So 3 minutes he arrived on. He stuck his head into my workshop and he says, "You better not be messing." I says, "Go and have a look." So he opened the door and he looked. I was standing behind, I could see her. Wow, she's beautiful. So I went back in the workshop and next he shut the door and he turned around and he goes, Fuck. What will we do?" I said, "No, Chief. You're the chief. What will you do?" So he said, "You must help me." I said, "Why?" I said, "You want to take my fucking shore leave pass? You do this to me, you do that." Okay. We talk about this later. You help me now. I said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "We must find out what cabin she is from." I said, "Ask her." So we went in and she walked towards us again and he tried to get hold of her and she shook off his hands. So I put my hand in under her arm and linked her.
Yeah.
And he done the same. And she was smiling at us. And here he kept asking her, because he was the same height as her. "What cabin number are you?" And she wouldn't answer. So we went up and down about 3 or 4 times. I thought it was fucking lovely. I thought it was brilliant. The best walk I had in the ship for a long time. And next, lo and behold, one of these cabin doors opened and this small little fucker comes out. Covered in gold and his big shirt with the white collar up and screaming at us, blah 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 blah. Yeah, he was in his 60s, this guy. Like.
Get your hands off my watch.
Yeah, get your hands off. And grabbed her, brought her back into the cabin. And I said, "No, Chief, can we talk about shore leave stuff?" "Oh, fuck you." And he fucked off. But found out afterwards, this girl, she was only 20.
Right.
Bombed all of her head on coke. Because the only way these managers used to keep them under control was drugging. The next morning she's up in that time the world fashion was sailing gear, sailing stuff. And of course the background of the sailing ship. This girl was on serious money there. So she worked for half an hour or 2 hours a day and she was making a big huge money there. So the next morning she's sitting on front of the sail of the ship on the ship and getting her photographs taken.
It's a crazy world.
And she's up for lunch then and she meets myself and another friend of mine from Mallow. We say hi to her. "Good afternoon, how are you today?" Ask us, what's this, what's that? And we explained to her. And I said, "Did you have a good night's sleep?" She said, "Yes, thank you very much. And you?"
Oh no.
She had no fucking idea.
Fuck.
No idea. And of course I didn't have a good night's fucking sleep. How could I have a good night's sleep after fucking seeing her walking up and down Bonnet Lake?
Can you see her now?
Yeah, fuck yeah. She was amazing.
That sounds of it doesn't look like you can fucking forget.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember Chief Dag's face as well. It was incredible.
Well, there's a balance to everything.
What will we do? No, what will you do?
Right, I think we'll leave it at that high note.
Yeah, we'll come back another day and visit some other adventures that yeah, absolutely.
Well, Kipper, we thank you very much for joining us. It was a
No problem.
great chat.
And you're a jinx.
A massive jinx.
Don't
Thank you.
Don't let me on any sailing ship.
And thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Ta-ta.
Sayonara,
Ciao.
bitches.
Do you want to have a coffee now?
Yeah.
Oh, I need a water, actually.
How long were we there?
An hour.
Is it an hour?
It was
Perfect.
1 hour and 10 minutes.
Brilliant.